right. Welcome. Welcome to Speaking the Game. I am your host, all right, with the lovely co-host,
Elise, also known as head coach Elite.
Hey, and we're here to basically invite you guys to the conversations that we normally have every day, every few days. We're pulling the curtains back so you guys can have that conversation, and we're going to share that conversation with you guys as well. You might like it, you might hate it. That's on you. But either way, be sure to look at our ads. Follow us on Twitter. You could also follow me on Twitter, on Instagram with that same app. And you could follow Elise
on 360 Ball Coach on Twitter. Instagram will be coming soon.
Yes, and if you just want to debate with us about basketball, trust Elite will debate you, and I will probably mute you. But you could try.
I got time all day.
You could try. It's only a select few I'll talk basketball with. So this is the purpose of us having this video. This is the purpose of us being here. We're looking to do this more often. So at the end of the video, we do ask you that you do hit the subscribe button. And if you want to continue to figure out or be around when we do post one, just hit that notification button as well. So let's get to the crap. And I say
let's get it.
It's not really a crap, but let's get into it. Like everybody else in the world, we watched The Last Dance. So let's start off. Be so fitting to revisit and talk the 90s basketball. So tell me your thoughts on The Last Dance.
So during The Last Dance, I was a little too young during a lot of the Michael Jordan era. I was, around 7, 8 when I started getting hip to who Michael Jordan was, and that just so happened to be his last dance as a Bull. So it was really cool to see some of those, behind the scenes footage, especially of that last year. A lot of things I had no clue about. It's not that I didn't have a clue about, because I read, some of Phil Jackson's book, so I knew some of the things that were going on, but to see it is one totally different thing. So I just can't wait for the next, 4 weeks.
So what was the one thing that shocked you or surprised you in the first 2 episodes?
One, how much of a bully Oakley truly is, man. Just seeing him slap one of the greatest second players and second options into the league has ever seen in the face like that was just crazy. The other thing was, I forgot Michael got injured.
Yes.
I totally forgot that. And it wasn't like a minor injury. It was like a severe injury. It was a lower extremity injury.
Yes.
For a guy broke his leg. He broke his leg. And he's he's a very powerful and explosive player.
Yes.
It's not a weak injury. And the fact that I forgot that he went to back to home to UNC to actually train, which makes you think, what were the trainers like in the NBA? That this dude said, nah, I gotta go. I gotta go back to UNC.
All right, so here's a little background, because I want to give you a little background for that. Just to drop it off a little bit. So 2 things. Oakley was always a bully. He was always an enforcer. That was his rep back then in the game. Every team had an enforcer. Oakley was way more skilled than most people even could imagine, but he did his job. He was the perfect role player. No matter what team he played on, you can look back in history and see that he always did
I knew that, but to actually see video footage of him slapping the Rook in the face like that, it wasn't no soft slap, because Scotty's a big boy and he took 2 steps back.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's not the first time I personally have seen that slap. I've seen it in videos growing up. There was all different types of videos. Now, as far as Jordan's injury, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I watched. If you got a chance, Come Fly With Me. Let me write that down. That's probably one of the best documentaries that you can watch to start out. When I was a kid, my dad bought the VHS. We had the videotape, and I watched it religiously. I watched it a lot. It broke down his game. It broke down a lot, and it wasn't a lot of information. And this is before Space Jam. So they mentioned that his injury. They mentioned that he went to North Carolina. So I want people to understand, because I've seen people on Twitter and they're like, oh, well, y'all praising Jordan because he dropped 49 and 63 but he still got swept. I said, all right. So I want to put it in perspective for everybody that wasn't there, because you mentioned the injury. Up until that game, he was on minutes restricted. His minutes were restricted up until that game. Think about that. He's less than 12 months removed from a possibly potential career-ending injury.
For sure.
Back then. And I say back then because, we have way better technology to fix injuries.
But let's even talk about Grant Hill. That was fast forward almost 20, it's almost 20 years forward from that. And that was a career-ending injury on the lower extremity.
10. It was maybe 10, 15.
No. Come on.
Yeah.
That was
started in 84. That started in 84. No, his injury was in Detroit. And before we can talk about this. His injury was in Detroit. He knew he was leaving. He played that series hurt when he shouldn't have played. But he knew he was leaving. He was not coming back to Detroit. So he wanted to give them his all. Everything. So they can't say, no, you knew you was leaving, that's why you didn't play. I could be wrong that he didn't know that he was leaving. But the type of player that Grant Hill was, I'm going to do whatever I can for my team to be successful. And he's living in the shadows of the Joe Dumars, the Isaiah Thomas, who played and basically won a championship on one leg. So when people say, oh, Jordan dropped 49 points, he dropped 63 points, big deal, LeBron would have did this. I'm like, I don't care. Mm-mm. We could stop the debates. I don't care about comparing LeBron James to Michael Jordan. They're two different positions, right? They're two different type of players. If I'm going to compare LeBron to anybody, he's magic.
Yeah.
He was magic. 100%. LeBron is a phenomenal passer, and I feel like that goes unnoticed. And I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. So for me to say that says a lot. But, you just got to be honest with who he is. And he should have been a point guard his whole career.
100%.
That's his game. And he could easily make anybody a number two to an extent. He didn't have the things that Kobe and Mike have. And I'm not trying to make this a LeBron debate because, like I said, I'm not here for that. But the 69 points on 5 Hall of Famers, less than 6-7 months removed from a serious injury.
He was only playing 7 minutes.
Yes.
He just came
a quarter.
That's what's crazy. No, 14 minutes a game.
No, it was a quarter. 7 minutes. No, it was 7 minutes a quarter. That's the thing. He played in the first quarter. His minutes. All right, you got to get out. So to put it in perspective, let's talk Steph. When Steph hurt his leg in 2016, I think it was 2016, he hurt his leg when they won 73 games, right? Okay. He hurt his leg in the Portland series, or the right before. He hurt his leg earlier in the playoffs, and he came back in the game 3 or game 4, and he went off. Steph went off, and he was like, I'm back. Yeah, he was moving like he was back. But what happened 2 weeks later? 2 weeks later, he wasn't as explosive. It was a lot. So when you understand the body, and you as a former athlete know, if you get hurt and you hurt a certain part of the body, it's real hard for your body to get back in their game shape in a proper time, let alone in shape to prevent injuries.
Man, I had one injury in college, and that was my ankle. I took my time. I saved my little butt right in that boot because I knew. Because if I rushed it back too soon, I was going to deal with that my entire college career.
Yes.
That was crazy to see, just because, another part of that was, how the GM was very adamant that he only played the minutes.
Yeah.
Dude, you can win a game, but at the same time, you got to look at it from a GM perspective. You're trying to get some picks for the future. You're trying to secure that job.
Yeah, but all right, so look at it like this too. It wasn't necessarily the picks as much as he was trying to protect his investment. At this point, everybody in the Bulls organization after the first preseason game, after the first game, they knew Michael was it.
They knew he was the man.
They knew he was the man, right? They knew he was the best player on the team. Admitted it, right? So now you go into year 2 and you say, oh, you got a serious injury? Okay, so I got to protect my investment. At the time, basketball was nothing. All right, so look at Zion. We'll take Zion. When Zion got the situation where the shoe happened, and dude, Zion could have came back earlier if he wanted to. But you don't think everybody not just in this circle, everybody in the administration, like, no. Everybody, all eyes was on Duke at that time because we have to figure out how they're going to take care of him because his future is still in.
And not just his future, the next round of freshmen, the round of freshmen after that, and then so on and so forth. Yes. So now that we talked about what I found interesting, what are 2 things you found interesting about episode 1 and 2? Or part
the part that I found interesting that stuck out to me the most was Scotty. I knew of
when he signed that deal.
He signed it in 91.
So what year? Like, I feel like they made that a little unclear because he wasn't like a.
No, he signed it in 91.
What year was that for his career though?
That was, he came in what, 97, I think it was. He came in 96, 97, I forgot. I mean 86, 87, sorry. He came in 86, 87, so he was still on his rookie contract. So understand that NBA players weren't getting paid back then the way that they get paid now. 91 was when that whole influx of all those players that came in the 80s was about to jump their whole zenith. Like, they were all getting ready and gearing up to get into their prime. So when you put it in perspective, first off, I knew Scotty came from a small town. I knew he went to a small school. But to do that and to then become the 5th pick in the draft, a couple of things stood out for me.
Who was his agent?
It's not about the agent, though. It's not about the agent. And the reason why is because Jerry Reinsdorf said it was a bad deal. The GM told you, I mean, not the GM, the owner told him it was a bad deal.
So, like, and that's what was crazy, right? When the owner is telling you, I personally wouldn't have signed this. Yeah. Who are we looking at? We're looking at the general manager. The general manager's job is to get the best players for the cheapest cost at the expense. Or are we looking at the agent?
So all right, so
because the agent's like, yeah, you know, this is a great deal for you, man, great deal for you. Then the owner's like, bro, I wouldn't sign this.
So yes, we can go on the agent and be like, oh, yo, you need to know your worth. But honestly, that didn't come about until the last 6, 7, maybe 8 years in the NBA, where players like, oh, you need to know your worth. Like, Scotty was fighting for his worth at the end of his contract. It's not like the NFL where your contract's not guaranteed. So, yo, I'm going to hold out until you upgrade me, like upgrade my contract. So, Jerry Reinsdorf told him, listen, you signed this contract. We're not renegotiating.
Which I feel like that was really dope of him to say, because how many owners, I mean, if I'm thinking myself as an owner, you know, as a former head coach, I know I gave some kids some scholarships that were not that good. Like, 100% honesty.
I mean, because when you're dealing with D2 and D3, like, there ain't no such thing as, like, you can get full scholarship, but it's got to be within budget.
Correct.
So you got to make sure your best players are taken care of. And then people don't understand that too. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Because
for a whole nother day.
But like, let me just go back to Scotty. Like, it wasn't the fact that he signed it. It was just the realization on why he signed it. It wasn't about, and I'm glad that they started his story out with that, and they told his story. Like, dude said, like, his brother even said, we didn't even know we was broke. And that's big. He didn't know
people in the family in a wheelchair, paralyzed.
And that, but his brother, before they even said that his dad and his brother became paralyzed, he said, we didn't know we was broke.
I think we all been there a little bit, but damn.
Yeah, he comes from something small. Like, when you understand the value of family for him, when you understand what he actually came from, it's like, oh, no, I completely, Scotty, I get it. You signed for 18 mil. Probably shouldn't have did the 7. You probably should have signed for 3.
That was a crazy part to me.
What's crazy is he signed that deal in 91. So it's like, fam, what happened in 92?
Boop, 1.
He was in a dream team.
Rings, dream team, like.
So put it in perspective.
But he signed that contract after they won.
In 91.
That's what's mind-boggling. Like, at that point, it's like, I understand, like, dude, you've been in the league for a little bit. Y'all just won a championship. You were the second best player on this team. Come on now. Like, what did Michael sign? So let's go ahead and maybe half that up, or even, you know,
Michael's contract wasn't even that big either.
And that's
Michael's contract wasn't even that big, and that's what people got to understand. Like, we could talk big contracts. So the reason why Dr. J, and just throw a little quick history out there, the reason why Dr. J wore number 6 at Philly was because he signed a $6 million contract. And that was,
let everybody know.
No, but that at the time, like, think about it. We laugh at a dude right now that signed $6 million. You're talking about a superstar signed a $6 million contract. You know? So It is what it is. I'm looking forward to the rest of it. Growing up in that era, like growing up and being and seeing that stuff. Like I had the basketball card, so I was aware of a lot of those players. I was aware of a lot of stuff that was going on in the league. And then, you know, it's a coming of age for a lot of people, and everybody's like, well, why do you call Michael Jordan the GOAT? Fam,
this is why.
Fam, there's way more things than just his sneakers, and people gotta understand that. Like, if he had the same opportunities as an athlete today, I think it would be non-matched. Like, there's not too many athletes, and that's not taking away anything from any current athlete or any athlete that.
But let me drop something on you. Brand Jordan made $6 billion.
Yeah, of course.
Nike, $1.4 billion. I might be off on the Nike part, but I know Brand Jordan was the best investment Nike has ever made. Phil Knight has ever made.
Of course.
And if it wasn't for Michael, we wouldn't have LeBron contracts. We wouldn't have Steph Curry sign the contract he does with Under Armour. We don't have Derrick Rose sign the contract he did to Adidas if it wasn't for Mike.
But we could also say, all right, well, what if Converse didn't sign Larry Imagine and Isaiah Thomas? Like, Converse had a group of dudes. Like, nah. And honestly, Jordan wanted to go to Converse.
That's the crazy part.
So you got to understand, it's just like a kid right now, and I don't want to put favors, but a kid right now would definitely want to sign with a Nike. Easy. Yo, I want to sign with that shoe company. Why? Because honestly, from head to toe, it's not even. You can go history, but I go quality. And I look at, and these things that I look at, and I know it's not even anything that we even want to talk about, but I look at who a player signs with, sneaker-wise, sponsor-wise, when they first get in the league. Because it tells me a lot. And as much as anybody wants to disagree, they can go look. Nike does a lot for their younger players and make sure that their younger players get in the spotlight. Not only do they get in the spotlight, but they have an opportunity because of Nike's incentive program. They have a lot of opportunity to get better. That is what I wanted to look at with Puma. When Puma signed all those first round picks, that's what I wanted to look at, is how are those players going to perform? Because if those players don't perform like any of these kids that play with Nike, like, yo, your second shoe deal can be with anybody. Look what James Harden did. James Harden took a Nike deal and parlayed it to a $200 million Adidas deal. Easy. As a six man.
And then look what John Wall did. Gone. Reebok gone. They ain't got no shoe deal right now. Like, but let's go back to Michael Jordan, right? Now, I do have one last question for you.
Okay.
Did you think this was going to be an MJ doc? Because I personally did. I kept hearing it's a Michael Jordan doc.
No.
Are you more excited that it is a Bulls documentary other than a Jordan documentary?
I am way more excited that it's breaking down the whole season. Yeah. And it's just like we're lifting the curtains and we're moving the curtains for people to understand the conversations that me and you have. It's the same thing. Like they're removing the curtains from things that happened 20 years ago, that we can actually enjoy. Like, you have a whole generation of basketball kids growing up, or people growing up that barely, was barely walking at that time, but they got the opinions. Oh, well, this player's this and this player's that. Nah, like, maybe you need to go back and revisit history so you can appreciate what's in front of you right now. Like, that's why I don't really care about the comparison games, because growing up then I had ultimate respect for the players that I didn't get to see. I had respect for the Dr. J's. I had respect for the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's. I got respect for those older players because they paved the way for what I was able to see. And those players in the 90s paved the way for what we're seeing now. And, eventually we're going to talk about players that played in the 90s that can handle the business, that can come here and would have probably been Hall of Famers and All-Stars in today's game. But they're the reason why today's game is the way it is. So what about you? Because that's it.
I honestly thought it was going to be Michael Jordan doc. I thought it would go a little bit more in depth than Michael Jordan this, Michael Jordan that. But I'm not mad at it being a full Bulls doc. For me, being a former head coach, a former basketball coach, I want to know a little bit more about Mr. Phil Jackson. I read his book. His book with took pictures with his rings. I like that. But I think, when he was in New York, I think I got a taste of some of his ego. For Mr. Zengman, he got a big ego. And I feel like this documentary is going to show a little bit more of that. But guess what? If you're going to be the head of some of the most competitive people who ever walked this planet, you're going to have an ego to match them. You're just going to have a little bit more tact on how to organize that.
I mean, and just to touch on Phil real quick, one of the things that I feel people don't understand, when Phil looked at the game and differently in the 90s. When he came with the Bulls, he looked at the game completely different. People wasn't running a triangle offense. You ran a triangle offense in college, so you understand. And I know you ran a triangle offense in college.
I know.
We practice with y'all every day.
I know, and I'm over here still shaking my head because I'm like, we didn't have the.
It's not that you did it. It's all decision. And I'm not. But
we didn't have that.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, like, when we ran it against y'all, we made it look simple.
And it pissed me off because I'm like, this is so simple, y'all. Why are we making it so hard?
When we ran it against y'all, it was so simple, and it was boop, 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 layup. And y'all, I knew y'all was getting pissed. And the thing is, and coach didn't let us go 100%. Imagine if she let us go 100%, what we would have did. But that's neither here nor there. So let's go back. So Phil was, he was so in depth in the game, but he also understood psychology. So because he understood psychology, he had a relationship with every single player. He communicated with them on their level, and I feel like in coaching, that's very important. It was more important in the 90s because everybody in the 80s was on drugs. Well, not everybody, but there was a good amount of people that was on drugs.
Let's be real. So, yes, they were. Those are dudes born in the 60s and 70s. They were on drugs.
Yeah, I mean,
they were drinking beer. They were drinking 6-pack at halftime. They were drinking a 12-pack after the game.
Of course,
bro. Let's be real. Because people don't know that.
No, definitely. Like, no, it's, and then that's something that you have to think about. Like, the game was just starting to grow, so there's more distraction. Everybody's like, oh well, if these players were playing now, they wouldn't be able to handle it. I said no, they would, because you got to understand what players were going through in the 70s and the 80s to what they were going through in the 90s. Like, that was probably maybe the first time where it was predominantly black, starting to become more predominantly black African Americans in the league on every team. So let's talk about it. Like, if you really want to talk about what these players, a lot of these players were born in the civil rights movement.
They were.
And or their first generation.
That's what people understand about Michael. Like, Michael's a couple years younger than my father. He grew up in North Carolina. Yeah. I'm pretty sure someone tried to say, oh, his parents are working parents. They work. I don't mean as a black man in the South. You ain't gonna.
But that's a history lesson for a completely different day. So I do have a quick question for you. All right, so we just revisited the past. Let's talk a little bit about the future. What is a wild expectation that you have? Like, something that's really spoken about, like a really unspoken opinion.
Okay, like, unspoken opinion. This is going to be totally different because we didn't talk about this sooner. NCAA, it's over for them. It's over for them, and I'm loving all of it. Ooh. Can of worms right there. I love what these young men are doing. I love that some of these young men, I want to say Brendan Jennings for going, overseas initially. I want to say that right there was just like, a little drip out the faucet. Now we talking about Melo and RJ Hampton going to Australia and doing their thing.
Now what?
We're talking about these two top prospects, the number one prospect saying, deuce NCAA, I'm about to get this $500K and then some.
And that's what I feel like. And I love that. I love it. I mean, me and you both being involved in the NCAA at some point, we kind of see it differently. Like, I in sports business, I wrote a paper on why I thought student athletes should get paid. Like, the different violations that literally the NCAA was violating in their rule book. They were violating 2 titles at the same time, but nobody's going to challenge them because they're going to throw it under the bus. So there's 2 things that stuck out to me regarding that. Cali's litigation, where they're like, you know what, we're going to, you could pay your players. All right, cool. So now the NCAA was already at standstill because it's like, yo, do we let all the other schools pay their players? Do we let all these other schools pay their players? If not, California's going to have a monopoly on the top talent. Mm-hmm. Or do we just kick every single person out of California, out of the NCAA?
Can't do that.
But you can. And
they can.
They can, but that will fall right into the NBA's hands. All right, cool. Because where are those kids going anyway? Where's Jalen Green going to be? He's going to be in LA. Oh, and that's right. And he's getting a scholarship. So yes, NCAA, please kick one of these schools out. Kick a UCLA out. Kick all these schools out. And what does that do? That opens the door for the NCAA to have a minor. I mean, not for the NBA to have a minor league. And the kids are still going to college. And the kids are still going to college because you know how many schools are in California?
Too many. I did it. I looked it up once and I was like, all these schools are sitting here.
Yes. And I was talking to somebody on Twitter and they were like, oh, I don't think the players should get paid. And I said, have you ever played a college sport? Like, have you ever played sports at a collegiate level? I said, let's talk about it. You only practice for 20 hours.
No.
You only practice for 20 hours on record. Your coach only has 20 hours for you, and that's dedicated to the team. That's not individually. So if you want to get better, and you know this, if you want to get better, you got to do it on your own. Right?
You got to get in that gym.
Yes.
You got to get in that gym. You're going to have to do a little extra workouts. You're going to have to ask for something else.
And then depending on the school, you might not have the availability in the gym to get better.
Because there's only one gym.
You know, so let's talk about, all right, so after that, what else do you have as a student athlete?
Well, for one, I'll tell you from my aspect, you can't work on campus.
No, you can't. You can't get financial aid.
I tried to do an RA. I made it all the way through, got hired, and they said, oh, you're on scholarship. Yeah, you can't make this money.
You can't do that.
I said, what?
You can work for free?
Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm already doing that.
And then people forget the responsibility of an athlete as being the face of the school. So if all these clubs are, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. Hey, can you come out? Can you do this? Fam, not only do you got homework, not only do you got training, not only you got to do all this extra stuff, now you got to go show face. You got to smile and find time for all of that. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's a full-time job being a student athlete. And don't be the best player on the team. Because if you're the best player on the team, you don't have time. You don't have time for anything. But, that's just...
My part of this is in every other industry, the goal is to go pro at the highest level possible. Mm-hmm. If someone's the student body president, they get paid. What? How? Why? Ain't no one going to school for the student body president. If you tutoring, you get paid.
Yeah.
Ain't no one going to school for no tutoring.
You work in a fitness center, you get paid.
But guess what? We're talking about our experience, at a small school, but we're talking about these top D1. Like, what school was Jalen supposed to go to?
Jalen, he had a list. I know
so
Arizona
he didn't fully
State
commit.
was on that.
He didn't fully commit.
No. And speaking of, finish what you're gonna say, and then I got something.
Because the Todd kid, I don't know much about him, but he decommitted to Michigan.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt Jalen, Juwan Howard. That's going to hurt them.
That's going to hurt him bad, but check this out. He probably talked to a young man and probably told him, look, dude, I know it's going to hurt me. You got to go do this.
Yeah. Why not?
So, why not?
I feel like, and that's the thing, I feel like the NCAA needs to get off of that and understand, like, hey, we're in different times. Like, these rules were made, like, almost 100 years ago. Like,
it's going to be the league that all these old, the good old boy club system wanted. They want the kids who really just want to go to school and play sports on the side. That's what they're going to get, which is going to be perfect. Yeah. It's going to be perfect. But I wonder how this is going to affect the NFL.
All right, so the NFL is different. And
I'm talking about the pay. We don't have to get into it. I'm talking about with the pay.
As far as what though?
Because now, like, if these young athletes in high school who are dual athletes, who are still tossing up, and freshman, sophomore year, do I want to play football? Do I want to play basketball? Let's think about Jackson Hayes, right? If Jackson Hayes didn't get his growth spurt, he was a football player up until like the last year of high school.
Yep.
That was his thing. Let's just say, like, if a kid like that, who is a predominant football player minus a growth spurt, are they going to be like, man, I got to go to this basketball route? You see how much money these kids getting straight out of high school?
So
I wonder how that's going to, really affect NCAA football and really affect, their caliber athlete that they're going to be able to recruit in certain positions, because it's going to change.
That's so, and I'm glad you said that. So let's talk about a Gonzaga recruit. It's one of the best quarterbacks in the state in America for high school. Quarterback, Jalen Suggs, going to Gonzaga. Like, he's another one. He was a top-rated point guard and a top-rated quarterback. He could have been equal. Like, we don't know, had he committed to like a North Carolina, but you're talking about the dudes like the Julius Peppers back in the day who played football and basketball, dominated them both. He dominated on the court and he dominated in the field. So when you talk about those players, the only players that's going to stay in college are the dudes that football's their route.
Same thing with Charlie Ward. Right? Charlie Ward won a Heisman. Yeah,
and he got played by the NFL because he wanted to play basketball. Like, the word came out that he wanted to play basketball. Like, and I'm gonna be honest, did he make the right decision? Yes. But Nate Robinson quit football after his sophomore year because he started killing it in basketball.
Correct.
No, it might have been after his freshman year because he was starting as a true freshman.
Well, he got a full ride on football.
Yes,
and much a walk-on on basketball.
And that transformed to a basketball scholarship so fast because he was that good. Yeah. So my whole thing is this, and that's the thing. I think college, for right now, because everybody's like, oh, it's only going to affect 10, 15 guys. And I'm like, yeah, that's for
this year,
a couple of years. That's going to be for a couple of years.
Because 3-4 years?
It's going to be for a couple of years, maybe 5. And the only reason why I say that before it can get to like 25 and 50 players is
success rate.
They, not just that, it's how are they going to be able to sustain those players? Because you got to understand, the NBA has an eye on these guys since they were 14, 15 years old. So they kind of have an idea. When the NBA finally has a perfect farm league system set up for those guys, it's a wrap, because you got to think they're going to get all the TV revenue. They're going to get they're going to get the NCAA stuff. They're going to be able to have a full season, and we're going to be able to see these guys play, and they're going to be able to play against grown men.
I mean, Jay Will said it on First Take yesterday. It goes NBA, high school, college, and popularity with basketball.
Yeah. So this is where the NCAA messes up. So you got a player who already has a brand. See, back in the day, college made your brand. Yep. Not anymore. Half these kids coming out of high school that's top 25 in the high school, they have a brand. Like, that's why I love LeVar Ball, because of that. Like, bro, LeVar Ball set his kids up. No matter what you feel about the dude, he set his kids up and then opened up the eyes to everybody else. Like, yo, there's money to be made. Mm-hmm. I saw somebody say, oh, well, Zion was worth $14 million before he went to Duke. After Duke, he signed a $95 million contract. I said, fam, if you don't understand that Duke could have came out of high school and signed a $95 million contract.
He would have got that regardless.
He turned down a $100 million contract. He turned that stuff down. He chose 95. Like, he had opportunity for more. So you take his opportunity for more. Him and LaMelo played in probably one of the biggest AAU games ever. So, and that was in high school. LaMelo was going into his junior year. Zion was going into his senior year. So let's put it all in perspective. Like they were young. Zion was on the scene as a sophomore. LaMelo was on the scene as a freshman. So you have 3-4 years of building your brand. LaMelo, as a sophomore, hits that half-court three-point shot and then goes out and scores 91 points.
That was it.
And it's like, fam, like, I don't think people understand, like, he already has people that believe in him, that like him, that follow him. So it doesn't matter what he's going to do. They're going to love him regardless. So now you want him to go to college, and then all the money that he could be making, he can't have, but the school's going to eat off of that because they're going to sell his jersey. Oh, you can't monetize your YouTube channel that you have. You can't monetize this. You can't monetize your IG account. You can't wear this. You can't do that. Come on, man. If they don't release those shackles and let these kids eat, then they're going to lose a lot of kids.
They're going to lose. They're going to lose men's basketball. Just chalk it up to being, like, I would say, compared to this, when the March Madness comes around, it's going to be a lot of those, 12 versus whatever games. A lot of those playing games. That's what a lot of these games are going to start looking like. A lot of these playing games. And guess what? I'm all right with that. Yeah. I'm all right with that. Because the kids who need to be in college, they're going to be there.
Because those are the kids that's going to need the college education when they get out.
Oh. Y'all were complaining that people were one and done in? Y'all about to see a lot of 4-year kids now.
Yeah. But what people don't understand.
Ain't nothing wrong with it either.
No. But what people's going to understand is the dog-eat-dog of the scholarship world. That's going to come up when they realize that your scholarship isn't guaranteed for 4 years. It's 1 year. It's a 1 year contract.
One season.
And I'm going to date this back because it just showed up on Facebook when Bo Ryan was crying because Duke beat them with a bunch of one and dones. I said, yo, but you wasn't crying when you beat a bunch of one and dones against Kentucky. Nope. When Kentucky had their squad, you wasn't crying. You were talking about, oh, my guys are in the season. All right, cool, bet. Then when you met freshmen that was able to take it and give it back to you, now it's a different story. Oh, they got a whole bunch of one and dones. I don't do that rent-a-player system. I said, yes, you do. You lease players every time. You just hold on to your lease a lot longer. That's it. You lease these kids because you're not paying these kids a dime. So it is what it is.
We know of. That we know of.
I mean, on record, but it is what it is.
Allegedly.
It is what it is. You know, I'm just going to say that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, but I'm going to be honest. Nope. That's a whole different story for another day, so we're not going to go there.
Move on.
But while we're here, let's talk about a couple of, like, this is probably my favorite part is, let's talk about some of these players that declared for the draft.
I'm ready. I love it. These kids, like these next 2 years, 3 years, I'm ready.
It's interesting. Because I have a feel like some of them I'm like here on, some of them I'm like, you probably should stay in school for like another year or two. But when I say that, it is what it is. I'm gonna go with the international kid first because I know you know a lot about him, so I want to hear your thoughts because I don't really know too much about him, so I don't really want to say much. But I know a friend of yours actually trains him, and he's right down the street. So tell me a little bit about Killian Hayes.
Smooth player, high IQ. I would say, he's French. So let's think about some of the French point guards that came before him. Got to throw in Tony Parker. I'm talking about when I say that, I don't mean comparison.
Okay, no, I'm not.
Smooth players. These are very smart players. These are players that are very shifty when they get into the paint. That's him. I like this guy. High skill.
There's a player in New York that probably want to talk to you.
Which one?
French point guard in New York, the Knicks.
No, I ain't talking about him.
I'm just saying he's most recent, so he's from that same camp. But
yeah, I'm not talking about him. We're not bringing him up because something tells me he's gonna end up in Orlando real soon.
He's not bad.
He's not bad.
When you realize,
we're not talking about him. We're not talking about him.
But he was the youngest player in his draft too, and I think that often goes unnoticed.
And he also went to New York, so that says all you need to know. Yeah. But I like this kid.
So
he also plays defense too, which is I also like.
If you and I know you said nothing like Tony, but if you can give me the floor, what you don't think he has a floor?
I don't want to do that with him. You know why? Because these international kids, I don't know all that much about 100%. Okay, because he's playing overseas right now. He's a pro. He's already a pro. He's playing overseas. But these international kids, I'm gonna be real, I haven't seen much game film.
Okay.
But I don't want to give him a floor or a ceiling. Same thing like I did with Luka. Even though everybody's like, Luka's the best in this league. I personally didn't watch him, so I can't. But he's no Luka.
I wish we recorded that conversation. I told you, I was like, nah, he's real. And I was in Summer League. And I was Summer League because I was like, yo. And I told you before even Tre played, I said, yo, Tre's real deal. No, he's not. No, hey, watch. And then.
I was team Tre all day.
Yeah. No, but you didn't believe. Like you believed, but you didn't think he could go to that level. And I was like, nah, he's going to that. Because the one thing I learned about Tre, and I don't want to spend too much on this, because we can talk Tre all day, is Tre progressed every single game in Summer League.
Oh, yeah.
And then by the time he got to the end of Summer League, he's like, that light clicked on. He's like, yo, I got it. This is what I got to do. And I tweeted before Summer League started, when he got drafted, I said, hey, if Tre's a score first point guard, he's going to struggle. If Tre becomes a distribution point guard, which I think he will be, he's going to be real hard to stop. And
he's already there, man.
And that's the thing, because Tre, I don't want to spend too much time on Tre, but Tre is on his way of being one of the.
So I'll say why I like Killian Hayes. Pick and roll. Great decision making in pick and roll. So top of the key, pick and roll. He makes some of the best decisions.
Out of the pick and roll?
Measured. Yeah, he's very measured. He attacks downhill. He's able to stop and reevaluate. He got a good pull-up jumper. And I want to say he's left. I'm looking at this. He's left-handed. Man, all these freaking lefties. He's left-handed.
Lefty about to take over the world.
They about to straight up take over all the sports.
Because it's so hard to guard a lefty. But all right, so let me ask you a question. What's the ideal team, or who would be the ideal team? And I say this because I feel like sometimes organization and team can determine if the player is going to be a bust or not.
Who needs a point guard?
A lot of teams, but a lot of teams don't, because I'm gonna lead to that too in a second. But he's 6'5", so there's a benefit. Because you look at New Orleans. New Orleans has a nice young point guard on their bench.
They do.
And who needs a 6'5" guard? Not a point guard. Who just needs a 6'5" guard?
A lot of people.
Okay.
But I don't know the perfect fit. Okay, who's gonna be the perfect fit? That's my hang up with him.
We'll revisit that, because here's my thing. If he doesn't land in a perfect spot, in a perfect situation, in 2 years, they're gonna be talking about him like they do the dude in New York.
Who's a point guard? All right.
And New York needs a point guard too. But they got two. They got two, but they don't know what they're doing.
I know none of these kids need to go to New York. Now, I think the only kid that can handle New York will probably be Melo. Just handle the New York rat race.
And RJ.
Because they've already kind of done it.
Which is actually no. I'm gonna say two players. There's two other players. Let's talk about one of my favorites, Nico.
You like Nico?
Yes, I've liked him for the last 2 to 3 years. I've been watching him.
I'm a little stuck on him.
He's a 6'3" point guard, but he's
not big no more.
To who? He's athletic. He's super athletic. So you're talking about a 6'3" point guard that's uber athletic and can shoot, and he's a pass first. He don't have range, but he's a shooter. He can score, but he looks to set up first. He can get to the basket. He can finish.
What's his floor? I don't even want to know his ceiling. What's his floor?
His floor, that's tough.
And what guys, people who are listening to this, when we say floor or ceiling, floor does not mean the worst case scenario. Floor means, if his career pans out to be a long NBA career, this is who he reminds me of. Ceiling, obviously, best case scenario, this is who this guy's going to be. Just for clarification.
Derek Fisher.
Okay.
Derek Fisher, because he's
just a point guard.
But he's a better scorer. So when I say Derek Fisher, I mean because Derek Fisher.
So do you mean Mike Conley?
No, it's completely different. He's not gonna Mike Conley is probably one of the best defensive point guards to play in the league in the last 10 years. I'm not. And he's a great passer. But Nico doesn't have it on defense like that. Nico, out of the group of what we're gonna talk about, Nico's probably one of the better on-ball defenders from that position. But I'm not. I wouldn't give him Conley.
The games I'm seeing Nico has some really good on-ball pressure.
Yes.
The games seeing Nico, he reads the pass lanes very well. Only reason why I brought up Mike Conley.
But this is why I say Derek Fisher, because you said floor. Mike Conley for a while was one of the top 5 point guards in the league.
That would be a ceiling. Yeah. That would be a ceiling.
Yeah, I give him that for a ceiling. I would. But as far as floor goes, I'm definitely going to say Derek Fisher, because he knows how to control. He can control
as long as he's not Derek Fisher off the court, I'm good.
His dad is a former pro. I think he's going to be way better than a lot of people expect. Speaking of former pros and dads,
who?
Let's talk about your boy Cole Anthony.
Not a big fan of.
I don't think either one of us are a big fan of Cole Anthony.
I don't think we've ever been a big fan of Cole Anthony.
Nah, and I'm gonna tell you this: if you're a North Carolina fan and Cole Anthony is your dude, do not hit me up. I do not care.
You can hit me up.
I'm gonna be honest. He should have never went to North Carolina. If he didn't go to North Carolina and he went to a different school,
totally different.
I think it would have been a completely different situation. But here's the thing: for kids that want to go to the league, right out, you want to be one and done, don't go to North Carolina. It was the perfect scenario for Kobe White because he was around a bunch of upperclassmen. Cole was walking into a situation with a bunch of underclassmen, and guess what? Most freshmen outside of Kobe White over the past decade, everything has been scaled back.
Yep.
and I'm only going to say this because this is one player that I wish went to North Carolina was Kevin Knox.
I would have liked for him to go there too.
North Carolina would have been perfect for Kevin Knox, but he chose Kentucky. At the same, like, it wasn't a bad choice because, you know, he was able to do one and done. He was a lottery pick. But in hindsight, and I was saying this,
that one more year would have done him well.
Yes, that one more year. Like, think about what he would have looked like in North Carolina last year with Kobe White, with the group that they had, and Cam Johnson. Like, you would have seen what, and you got to remember, like, he's just as old as the freshman. Like,
so young.
Yeah, like, he was the youngest player in the draft. So when you look at that, it's like, yo, you got so much potential. Go take the 2 years. The 2 years, like, the league is gonna be there. Like, for a player like him, the league was gonna be there. So it might not be there long enough. So let's talk about Cole. Like, what's your floor?
Let's talk about ceiling. People are gonna compare him just because his explosiveness, whatever. Some people are like, he's the next Derrick Rose. He's the next Derrick Rose. He's so explosive.
Ceiling?
He can score. His ceiling. He can score in bunches. But I don't see that.
All right, so you want to go ceiling?
Floor? I think
you want to go ceiling.
I think you told me.
I told you it was floor before, but I might have changed, and I'm gonna change the ceiling.
You said one that was good.
Yeah, I'm gonna change the ceiling though. But before I get into a ceiling, I want to express this.
Clarification.
Cole needs to work on his ball handling skills.
100%.
To be a point guard, like, Cole is a scorer. One, Cole's athleticism is great in the open floor, but when he has the ball in his hands and he has a good defender on him, Cole is nothing at this point. He's young. He can still grow. He can still do a lot in his game. His floor is his dad, bro. Like, you can use that athleticism to become a really great defender, on-ball defender, which right now he doesn't have. He doesn't have that in him. So to me, like, that's his floor. But he can't rely on scoring.
How big is he?
He's 6'2", 6'3". I don't know who you ask.
He does not look that at all.
But my thing is
so tight.
My thing is Cole can control a game, the flow of the game, but he's not a great passer. He's not a great ball handler. So as much as he can control it, he can only control it when it's in his hands. You put a great defender, you put a Patrick Beverly on him.
Clamp.
You know, you put some of these defenders on him, and it's like, you don't have the bag yet for that. You could get it, but you don't have it yet. And everybody's hyping you because all your videos are dunks.
Oh, he got the workout videos down packed. He has those down packed.
Yeah.
Like, if I've seen some kids who send me a tape of, like, gameplay, not bad. Their drill videos look amazing. He got his drills down packed.
Okay. Until he start playing certain type of players, and that's, the league is full of that. So,
and I think college shows us that too.
Yes, and we gonna segue to that too. So, his ceiling.
Okay.
Eric Barkley.
Okay, so you definitely.
Eric Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe. Sorry.
Okay, so you definitely switched that, because last time we talked about Starks.
Yep, John Stark. Yeah, that's if he plays a 2. But I'm looking at him as a.
He is.
I'm saying ceiling wise, yes, he's a 2, but he's 6'2", and
he can't do that no more.
And he don't play D. It's not that you can't. If he could play D, then yes. If he has another, he could be in the same backcourt as LaMelo Ball.
So what's the team for him?
Whew.
In order for him to be the best possible point guard, best possible sometimes 2.
Charlotte.
But they already got 2 tiny guards. They don't need a third.
They got one.
They got my boy. They got my boy. I call him Teddy Graham.
But he's point guard, right?
And then they also got. We're looking
at point guards. Who?
The guy that came down from the Celtics.
Terry Rozier, yeah, but
another one.
But Terry can play the 2, and Terry's nice. And Terry
used 2 tiny guards.
Terry used that Nike deal.
We're talking about 2 tiny guards.
All right, but you're saying, where could he be more his success?
Charlotte would be it.
It's Charlotte, because Charlotte has a core of young guys right now that will go after it.
I got one for you.
What do you think?
Dallas.
No.
At the 2. Oh yeah.
Next to who?
You got Luka at the 1.
He's not even gonna beat Jalen Brunson out.
He ain't.
And Jalen Brunson's a hell of a point guard. Like Jalen Brunson should be starting somewhere in the league, but you know, I'm nobody's coach or general manager right now, so there's that. I love Jalen Brunson. So as a point guard, like he's the type of point guard winning teams have, because he puts the team over me. So that's why I like him. And until Cole can absorb that, if Cole had a little bit of Jalen Brunson in him, Cole would be phenomenal.
I think Cole's one of those kids. One more year would do him some justice.
Yes.
One more year to where he has matured. It's truly his team.
Especially under Roy Williams. That's what I said. That's what I was telling. Like, somebody got mad. Oh no, he's definitely gonna be one and done. I'm like, yo.
Yeah, you're right.
You underestimate like what would happen if he did 2 years under Roy Williams. Like, and I'm not trying to discredit Roy Williams, and I'm not trying to take anything away, but yo, you don't need the money. So what do you want to rush for? Because as quick as you go into the league is as quick as you can go out. And we're talking about, and we didn't mention this, but we're talking about an influx of that position over the course of the next few years.
We just had a huge influx.
Yes, and we're about to have another one, and we still have legends still playing. Like, you got Westbrook playing.
Chris Paul.
You got Paul playing. Like, and then you still got D Rose playing. And he's healthy.
Playing well.
Yes. So I'm like, yo, all right, so let's put it in perspective. Rubio's still playing.
Playing well.
Conley's still playing. Maybe not as well, but he gets hurt. Honestly, Utah.
I think we talked about this before.
Utah.
We talked about this. Utah would be a good look because you have Devin.
But he would have to play the Grayson Allen role in Utah.
Maybe.
Because Grayson Allen would be his floor. Remember, I said that. Grayson Allen would be his floor. Because they're the same player, except Grayson's taller. Speaking of the clamps, let's talk about. I want to talk about my boy RJ real quick. RJ Hampton.
You got this. You know more about RJ than me.
I love his game. Like, I love the potential of his game, and what I like is what people don't understand is like he reclassified up a year.
That's what's crazy. Like he should be going his freshman year.
Yeah. So he has a year on the pro.
So will he be the youngest player in the draft?
No. I don't think he will be. I'm not sure if he will. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't think he will be. But my thing with RJ is RJ has the potentials to be a lockdown defender. He's a good scorer. He's a great slasher, and he's a good passer. So a lot of the things that are deficient, and this is why I'm tough on Cole, especially in his class, is because there's a lot better point guards in this class. So when you talk potential, I will take RJ over Cole any day because RJ's 6'4". RJ's a better defender. RJ has better ball handling. RJ has better control. Cole
is a long 6'4".
Yes,
he's a long
lanky.
6'4".
He's lanky.
Where Cole Anthony looks like a very tight, like, you know, if the measurements come out, I don't think Cole's arms might be
6 feet.
Exactly his height.
Or 6'1".
Yeah. You know, and like RJ's a long 6'4". He's a very wiry 6'4".
He could still grow.
Similar to a Westbrook type. Like Westbrook is 6'4". Westbrook a long 6'4".
Yeah, but Westbrook is a different type of athleticism.
We ain't talking about that.
But the thing, looks. But I love his potential. Like, I love RJ Hampton's potential, and I hope he gets drafted to a good squad because he can play both. He could play that combo. He could be that point guard. He could be that shooting guard. He could just be that guard, that extra ball handling. Like, when you look at New Orleans has a 2-guard system where they have Holiday and they have Ball. So it's like the league is kind of going towards that, and I would love to see RJ in Philly.
He can shoot. And he's been part of the team that he went to in Australia, and Australia League was one of the best teams in the league. So he went in there, you know, possibly huge ego. I'm getting this, getting that. He wasn't the man on that team. He was a great role player. So he can go into a situation when you got 2 All-Stars right now. Mm-hmm. He can go into there, not even have to worry.
And if you, I wish you got a chance to see him against OKC in the preseason, because that would like. I saw some of that game. I saw some of the game, and I was impressed. He made some reads that his teammates weren't even ready for. Mm-mm. Offensively, as far as passing, when you talk some of his turnovers, and I think he's going to adjust to the NBA fast. I don't think Philly's going to have a shot to get him, but if I'm Philly, he's that third guy that you've been looking for. because he's that balance. When Ben is out, he can still control him. And Ben could work together. But I don't know what they're doing in Philly. I mean, Elton Brand's you got a guard. Like, he can come off the bench for the next 2 years, but come crunch time, he's the one that you're going to want to play the Tre Young. Like, you're going to want him to D up Tre Young. You're not putting any of your current guards right now on Tre Young because Tre Young will eat. He eats Philly. He's been eating Philly. So, I'm saying that in like a potential playoff matchup, like, because I feel like Atlanta's going to be making the playoffs pretty soon. So.
I don't think you says floor or ceiling for RJ.
It's tough. That's another tough one. As far as his ceiling goes,
from the games I saw, I can't think of one.
A healthy Sean Livingston.
I'm good with that, because Sean Livingston, healthy when he first got to the league,
with a jump shot.
Mans was bad. Before Sean Livingston got that injury, Mans was real bad. Was real bad.
His handle was everything. And I'm not saying that RJ has that handle, but RJ has that charisma about him that I feel like he's confident enough in who he is that you give him some time to develop. And that's why I said Philly, because there's not that much pressure when you put him on a team like Philly. But you put him on Philly and you just develop him and and then you don't even have to take your time. Just take whatever he's willing to give you, but don't rush him. Like, when he's ready, go. Let him, like, if he's ready to fly, let him fly. Don't hold him back. It's tough. It's tough on the ceiling. Let's go talk. I'm gonna talk about my boy Tre Jones, because he's another one that I'm super high on. I love his game as a point guard. He's probably the best true point guard.
I like Tre
in this draft.
I like Mr. Jones.
He's bigger than his brother. He's a winner just like his brother, and he's going to be a hell of a defender in the league.
He is.
And he's a great passer. So it's going to be tough, because I don't see a team right now that has a immediate need for him. But you put him on a team like the Lakers and you have him coming off the bench. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I did say Orlando Magic.
We got into it big. I did.
Yeah, because people, I would love to see him in Orlando right next to Fultz, especially at the end of the game. You take Fultz off the best scoring option, especially at the end of the game, and now you put the ball in Fultz's hands, or you put it in his hands. And Fultz, people don't understand, came off the ball in Washington for most of the point. Like, people were like, "Oh, he's a point guard." Fam, he started next to another point guard. Like,
his comparison was James Harden,
which I don't mind, except right now he has to get his shot going.
Correct.
But he's
his
strong. His
comparison was James Harden. Like, James Harden's not a point guard. No. James Harden is a 2 guard.
He did play point for 2 years.
He did, but he's not a point guard. He's not a point guard.
He's not, but he's a creator when he has the ball in his hands. And I think that's the thing people got to understand. Like, you don't need – Fultz doesn't need the ball in his hands, and that's for those Orlando Magic fans. What he needs is somebody that can, give him the ball where he needs it, but also can give everybody else the ball where they need it. That's my problem right now with a guy like Fultz, but that's where Tre is specifically could be the answer, because he knows pace. He's played with Zion. He's played with RJ. He's played with Cam.
Look at how many NBA players Tre's already played with.
But it's
just look at that.
It's different, because I think, first off, I like his brother. I just think his brother got a raw deal in Minnesota, and right now, even being in Memphis, is he in Memphis? Yeah, being in Memphis,
another raw deal.
He wasn't given an opportunity. Like, he's not given an opportunity, because there's no way they're gonna be like, yeah, here's the keys, and you can take it from our rookie. And nah, you're not taking it from Ja. But I think a player like Tre, not Tre, like his brother. What Tyus does is Tyus opens up the door. He gives those players around him, those other guards, confidence, because he's about the team. So Tre's the same way, where Tre's about the team. Tre showed you his freshman year that he could sacrifice his own as long as to do whatever for the team to win, but he also showed in his second year that he can lead. So to me, Tre, I draft him in the lottery. Me personally, like, if you need a point guard and you want to win, Tre's probably the guard that you want to go to outside of LaMelo.
Steady.
outside of LaMelo. Like me personally, I would take probably Tre and then RJ, and Cole's further down the list, but I would take Nico. Then I would take Killian, and then so before we get to the next one,
I know, man. This is a mouthful right here.
Do you want? All right. So, have you seen enough Tre to give him a floor or a ceiling?
If we want to say ceiling,
okay,
top-notch ceiling.
I got an idea for a ceiling, but I want to hear what you got.
Top-notch ceiling. We're talking about point guard, true point guard.
Yes.
Who's going to play on the ball D?
Yes.
Play them passing lanes.
I got
just
two.
Set up everybody. Top-notch ceiling.
I got two.
Bro, this shit about to be wild. I can't even say this.
Say it.
Stockton.
Damn, that was my other one. That's why I said I got two.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I said I got two. Yes.
Like just top-notch ceiling.
Yes, that's why I was like, yo, I got two.
That's what I said. I can't believe we're saying. I'm saying one of the top point guards of all time.
I mean, but John Stockton was my favorite. So, I mean, when you look at it, it's like, dang, that's kind of crazy that you would say that. I would say it because, like, you just took the ceiling right out of my head. But like,
who was your number two then?
Mike Conley.
Yeah, like just steady, reliable, just steady.
Even kill.
The past 2 years, his stat line has improved. Just steady each game. It's not a lot of
injuries though. But that's the thing when you look at a guy like John Stockton, and John Stockton was an Iron Man basically. Like he played like 18 years and barely got hurt. And you look and that's what the playoffs.
He played every game.
And that's what the playoffs.
Didn't sit out.
There was no such thing as never mind. I'm not even gonna go there. But I feel like Tre Jones, because here's the thing, and I want people to understand. I watched a couple of Duke games. Tre Jones basically locked up from end to end at all game. Still averaged 16 points a game. Still gave it up. Still was able to put up buckets. Still was able to improve everything but his free throw percentage.
If you're guarding from end to end,
that's huge.
You have the entire offense on your back. Guess what? Your free throw percentage is going to be a little low.
Yes, because your legs. But what he showed is that he's clutch. And the reason why I say this, and this is Tre exposed Cole Anthony. Like that Duke North Carolina game, both games, Cole should have been like, you know what? Maybe I do need to stay a year.
I'll tell you this. My dad, he's a UNC fan. I grew up in a UNC household. Watching that game and then texting my dad was one of the hardest things for me to do because I knew it hurt him. I also like to talk. I still talk to Cece.
Yeah.
Cece's a huge Duke fan.
Yep.
So hearing from her, another thing. Like,
but that's the thing. Like, and it wasn't just Tre because Duke has another guard that locked up Cole. And I'm like, and this dude ain't gonna touch. This dude's not even gonna sniff the league, bro. No. Like he's not even gonna sniff the league, but he locked up Cole. So that tells me, hey, Cole, tape's out. We already know you don't have the tight enough handle to handle that kind of pressure. Now imagine you're not dealing with Tre's. And yeah, you might be lucky the first couple of years, but
dude, you're dealing with Westbrooks.
but go off once. Go off once and watch what happens. And now, we're gonna switch. Now you're gonna get the better defender. And
you know what? You're gonna get another kid on you.
And he's a good defender. And he's a good defender. So like that's why when everybody's like, oh well, why are you so hard on Cole? Yo, he couldn't even get up. He couldn't even get to half court with Tre Jones.
Had to defer, had to pass off.
He turned the ball over in clutch. Fam, listen, any point guard that's up 18 points with 3 or 4 minutes left, and you can't help control your team, and you lose the game in double overtime because you were up 18 points and couldn't do nothing with it. It's not like your coach took you out because they didn't.
Couldn't.
So there was no excuse. There was no excuse on why you blew 18 points. It's not like the bench was in. Like, nah, you was in the game, fam. Like, you was in the game.
I think that's going to be the draft pick that a lot of people are going to be shocked about. Not Tre. Cole's going to drop. Tre's going to go up. But the next person we're going to be talking about.
Whoo, that's my boy. And I know that's your boy, too.
This is my boy.
We've been talking about this dude for years.
But I feel like, but let's not say the name. Let's just build up the hype because, like, this is my guy, right? Only white guy.
Super athletic. He's not the only because we talk about him.
No. Only white guy on his AAU team and started.
I mean, but when you realize where he's from, that makes sense.
It makes sense, but no. He didn't play on the AAU team. He played on the best AAU team in the state of Virginia.
I know.
He drove all the way over to make sure he played with them people.
No, they made sure they had him.
They
made sure they had him. Like, come on, let's be real. Let's be real. This is where
they had to have him.
This is where Bobby Huggins messed up. Because Bobby Huggins
and backyard.
Bobby Huggins signed another point guard from Wisconsin instead of Mac. And I'm sorry, I had to say his name. Mac McClung.
100%. And the kid that he signed from Wisconsin
barely played.
Do you guys remember all those basketball video handles where like the little kid was like, yeah, like Jalen Newman style, like, you know, like, you're doing the most right now. This ain't really it.
My young boy locked Jalen Newman up this year, so I don't want to hear it. And dude's a freshman. So let's go.
So I had the pleasure of seeing a lot of his games because I was actually coaching in a town that was 20 miles away, and his games had such a huge draw. He had to play in our 5,000 seating gym, and it was sold out.
Yeah.
Every single time. I've seen this dude give somebody 36 and then wait for 2 hours, and I'm mad because I got scouts to do at my house. I had to wait 2 hours till he's done signing autographs, and he stood there humbly as heck.
He's a dog too. He's a dog on the court. Like, whoever gets him is
Talking
blessed.
Talking about competitor.
Yes, whoever gets him is blessed.
Like, who was the last person I would say was? I mean, Donovan Mitchell, person who no one thought he was supposed to get drafted at that high, got drafted. I understand that. But like, people did not think that he was the steal of the draft. You forget this. Donovan Mitchell was a steal of the draft. No one thought he was going to be as big.
He was one of them. That draft was deep. And me and you talked about that draft a long time. Like, that draft was deep. In hindsight, it was very deep. And everybody that was drafted, even the people that was drafted ahead of Donovan, made sense to the team that drafted him.
It made sense.
But once again, it's all about preparation and opportunity. Like, Donovan Mitchell is not the man in Utah if Gordon resigns. But people forget that. Like, Donovan Mitchell got drafted into a situation where he was supposed to be the number 2 guy. He was supposed to be that second scoring option, but they were trying to play him at the point. And he played horribly in the summer league at point. But let's get back to Mac.
We gotta get back to Mac because I really
Mac's getting all this time right now.
So let's say this. If you like Cole Anthony, if you think Cole Anthony is the man, think Cole Anthony is the top guard in this class,
you better look at Mac.
Mac has to be right there by him.
Yo, you better look at Mac. Because Mac, and this is where I felt like Cole should have went to Georgetown. Like, if he wasn't going to go to Kentucky, or he wasn't going to go to these schools that, you know, was actually going to make him look good as a point guard, like, bro, go to Georgetown. Him and Mac in a backcourt, they would have given teams hell.
You would have let them do whatever the heck he wanted to.
They would have worked so well off of each other because their games are so similar. It's like, yo, pick your poison. You either want Mac to kill you, or you can't pressure Cole now. Like, a team like Duke plays Georgetown, you can't pressure Cole because you got Mac. So who are you going to put on Mac? And Mac can handle the pressure. All the pressure that Cole can handle with the ball in his hands, Mac can handle. But everybody, my cousin, he saw him play, and he's like, he's a little bit, he might be 6'1" at best. I'm like, all right.
He's not that high.
But with he has true athleticism. He has that type of athleticism. It doesn't matter if you put another athlete on him. He is good enough to still play his game. And I'm not saying, he's going to be the man. But what I'm saying is he's going to make a lot of teams pissed off that they didn't draft him. And he's going to make one team be grateful and happy that they drafted him.
His ceiling, I hate to say this, his ceiling could be like a Nate Robinson in the league, where he might be bouncing around a couple times. But when he's at that team, he's going to give all he has. He's going to sell some jerseys. And people are going to like Mac.
His ceiling to me is Jamal Crawford.
You know what? If that happens, I'm a fan. I'm buying his uniform. I don't own any jerseys. I'll buy Mac's jersey.
And the reason why I say Jamal Crawford is because I think he's a microwave. Do I think he'll be able, like, he'll start? Like, Jamal Crawford could start. Like, Jamal Crawford
should be in the league.
He should have been in the league, like, easily. And shout out to Jamal Crawford, because he's definitely, like, longevity-wise, and his handles are smooth. And people forget, man, that he was drafted by
or even Lou Williams. If you're gonna say Jamal Crawford, you got to even throw out the name Lou Williams out there.
Yeah,
Because they both, I mean, just
you know what?
Microwaves.
My bad. I'm gonna say Monte.
I love Monte.
I'm gonna say Monte.
I love Monte.
If I'm gonna do a tour, I'm gonna do Jamal Crawford only because I feel like he's gonna be in the league for a long time. But when you talk athleticism, I think he's only gonna get better in the open court in the NBA. So I'm gonna say Monte Ellis.
I think if there's room in this league for Grayson Allen, there's room in this league for Mac McClung.
I think you're dogging Grayson, and I really like Grayson, so I'm not gonna.
He's a dookie.
That don't mean nothing to me. I don't care what school. I don't care what school you go to. I'm gonna be honest. Like Grayson,
I simply just said I grew up in a UNC household.
I feel you. I feel you, and I grew up in a household where I'm gonna be honest. I only saw one player lock down Allen Iverson. One. You want to know his name?
I said, "What's up?"
Sham God. I've watched Sham God lock Allen Iverson up. He's the only person I've ever seen clamp Allen Iverson up. So, and that's just...
Now Max Floor, TJ McConnell. I told you, yes, TJ McConnell. If TJ McConnell could play the 2 guard,
he's not the 2 though.
Ben, listen,
he was the predominant ball handler when he was on the court.
On the court, Ben Simmons. Simmons is always a predominant ball handler.
No, the offense was initiated through TJ McConnell, and TJ McConnell made that pass to Ben, and then went to the corner.
I said,
that's what worked.
If there's room in this league for TJ McConnell type, there's room in this league for Mac.
What if I said Malcolm Brogdon?
Nah, man. Malcolm too good. Malcolm too good, man. Malcolm too good for that.
Malcolm Brogdon. Because you got to remember, all right, so it also depends on team. So what team
We talked about this.
So it depends on team. And I think Mac would be great in a team like Milwaukee with their team currently, with their current team. I think he would be great there. I think he'd be great in Phoenix. I think he would be great in a team like Brooklyn outside of Kyrie. I think he'd be great in Boston. I think he would be...
Boston, probably a good fit.
I think he'd be really phenomenal in Miami, right next to, what's his face that they just got?
Mr. Hero?
Yeah, right next to Tyler Hero. I think both of them together, 2 dogs. I feel like he's the perfect fit for the Miami Heat.
He got that attitude.
Do they need him? Probably not. But if you're looking to get rid of a current point guard that you have that, is making a lot of money.
Needs to go.
I won't say needs to because he plays a perfect role for them.
As of right now, if we talk about point guards in the league, which we weren't initially going to.
And we're really not going to.
Dragic might be one of the worst in the league right now.
He's not, though. See,
he's one of the worst.
He's just been hurt. We're not doing this.
Let
me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. So let's talk about I got a list of random players. Let's talk about their current situation and what do you see from them in the next 5 years. Let's just round it out real quick. First name is of course we're gonna start out with the book, young Devin Booker.
I like D-Book. I think D-Book either one needs to leave Phoenix, but I think D-Book has enough of that Kobe in him to where he's just not going to go nowhere. This his team. Come play for him. But if everything that I've read says that him, D-Loading, and Big Cat are best friends that all want to play together, then it'll be the worst possible situation for him. The absolute worst. D-Book is a dog.
I agree. I don't want him to leave Phoenix, and I think this was the first year that he actually had a real point guard.
Looked nice, and
everything looked a lot easier. We watched him score 70 points a couple years ago. And I feel like he has a perfect coach with Monty Williams, and I feel like the suspension of Ayton hurt both of them, and it hurt the team. But you got Kelly Oubre, you got Book, and then you got Ayton. You already got your 3, and you got a point guard that loves to pass and can play defense, and he's one of the most underrated point guards in the league. Yeah. So what do you really need? Well, we're going into the draft. coming up, granted, you're probably going to have a lottery pick. Do you look at a Vernon Carey? Do you look for a Ubi Toppin? Like, depending on where you fall, who are you looking for? Because I'm going to tell you this, I wouldn't be surprised if James Wiseman falls down to them and they pick him up. And now you got Twin Tower situation. Ayton could go back out to the 3-point line.
I wouldn't even want to hog that up for Booker though.
You don't need it's not, but you're talking about a guy who's getting his scoring options set up for him. He's running off of double, triple screens now versus him having to create for his own.
That is true because he's not playing the point no more. He's not the predominant ball handler. And
in the fourth quarter, guess what? You're running a pick and roll. You can go small, you can go big, and at the end of the day, you still got Ayton who as much as he's a liability on defense, and I think that's why him and James Wiseman could work well together if that was ever a thought. I would love to see him next to LaMelo.
You know who I'd like to see him next to? Shai Gilgeous. I'd like to see him next to Shai Gilgeous. Shai Gilgeous, another smooth, high volume scoring point guard, long who can guard those. He can guard the top.
But you already got Rubio.
Yeah. You got Rubio, but Rubio, he ain't no screen chicken.
But he's a way better. Okay, never mind. We're not gonna do this. I'm just talking about point guards like that will give up the ball. Outside of LaMelo, because LaMelo will give up the ball. I just feel like, you know what, RJ Hampton would be nice in Phoenix.
I think for Devin Booker to be great.
And Tre Jones would be nice.
I think that for Devin Booker to be great, he's going to have to get out of that. I need my 25, 30 touches a game.
No, but what he needs to do is model his game after Clay.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm trying to say.
And Ray Allen. Look at Ray Allen.
He needs to get out of that. I'm going to get my 40 touches and scale it down to 18, 23.
And honestly, you give him 23 touches, but
he's going to be so efficient.
But put him in the position to score. And I think he's going to get there. And that's why I said I feel like the suspension of Ayton hurt Booker. And it hurt Ayton too, because now he's now 3 months in where he was trying to catch up. And for a sophomore season, it was so big for Ayton, and we didn't get Ayton the way that we wanted to or that we needed. So let's get off Book real quick because we could talk Book for. Where do you see him in his position before we transition to the next guy? Where do you see him in his position in the next 3 to 5 years?
He won't be a top 5 in his position.
He won't be?
Mm-mm.
That's bold. I was thinking he was going to be.
If your team's not winning, I'm one of those people. Wins matter to me. We keep score for a reason. If the Phoenix Suns fail to win, I can't.
You're right. But at the same time, Phoenix is starting to make the proper moves. They brought in a coach. They brought in a point guard. They have the young talent. They brought in Kelly Oubre. They're starting to build around him.
If they don't win, I can't put him up there.
In the next 3 to 5 years, Phoenix will have a better record than Minnesota.
That I believe.
Minnesota, with the team that they have right now, right? And I love Cat. I love him. But in 3 to 5 years, you're talking about Ayton. In 3 to 5 years, do you know how nice he could be offensively? Ayton's problem is that he can't play defense on an open rock.
I think Ayton's hit or miss.
Now offensively,
I think he's hit and miss for his turn out his career.
I think Ayton, just like Cat, is a future Hall of Famer. I think because offensively, he's going to put up buckets. Especially when you have a point guard, and a point guard knows where to give you the ball and knows how to give you the ball. So as long as Phoenix could keep a point guard in the stable that knows how to distribute, can give the ball to Booker in his pocket, could give the ball to Oubre in his pocket, could give the ball to Ayton in scoring positions, and Ayton could play a full season not getting suspended for the things he got suspended for. I think he has complete potential to do that. Let's talk Zach LaVine.
Another one.
All right, Khaled.
Another one. Zach LaVine is another guy that I personally like.
Mm-hmm.
Not in Chicago. not for that coach. They do not like each other.
That coach is out though. That coach is damn near out. They just got them. You saw what they just got rid of the GM after 20-some years.
I hear that. So, but guess what? If your owner likes him, from everything that I'm seeing, he good. He's solidified.
He's out of here. He'll be out of here by All-Star break. I promise you. If the Bulls ain't winning, because you look at I love what the Bulls have, but now you're talking two of your top players requesting trades because Laurie did too. And when I look at Laurie, and I'm glad I mentioned Laurie, we mentioned Minnesota, and I gotta mention Zach LaVine and Minnesota, where Minnesota messed up. They screwed the pooch. They traded LaVine, Laurie, and Chris Dunn to Chicago. And what do they have to show for it?
They got rid of Wiggins. All they can show for it,
but Wiggins wasn't a part of that. So
that's what I'm trying to say. What can you show for it? You can't.
Covington. They got Covington. Like, you got to look at what they got from they got Covington, because I don't even think Dario Saric is there, and he might be. But think about it. What would Cat's game look like next to Laurie? Because Laurie would have been the point guard. The power forward. What does between the both of them? You got a twin tower of dudes that can play the in and out. Both good passers, both great shooters for their size. Right? So now you got those two guys. Then you got Zach LaVine and Wiggins on the wing. Wiggins, you can have him focus on playing defense. And Zach was, at the time, he was a point guard. And then we mentioned Chris Dunn to me. And I told my brother this before the draft. Chris Dunn reminds me of Dwayne Wade. He needs to be playing off the ball because the way he slashes and he gets to the rim. But like I said, I'm nobody's GM and I'm nobody's coach. But that's enough about it. So let's talk about Zach.
I like Zach. I like Zach LaVine. I want to say this past season, before it was cut way too short, Zach was showing his versatility as a scorer, like scoring on 3 different levels. Like, he was scoring. He was always having it, but it seemed like this season it was clicking. Maybe it was addition to having a true point guard being added. Now I'm going to say true point guard, adding another.
Kobe wasn't playing like that.
That's what I said. Wiz wasn't playing like that, but maybe it was adding in another point guard to say, hey, man, this who y'all brought in, I play that position. Like, this is who y'all drafted. I play this position. Honestly, this is my year.
I think
just little things like that does matter.
I think the Bulls didn't have any room to draft any big guys, and I think Kobe actually was the best player at that spot in the draft outside of Bobo. But that's a personal opinion.
I agree. I'm just thinking from putting myself in Zach LaVine's shoes. Like, this is my team. Why you draft someone that can take my position? Why not draft a shooter?
Because you got to remember, Zach was coming off of his ACL injury, and he barely played last year. So I think they got Kobe more so for insurance. And you got to remember, they got Chris Dunn. Those guys, all 3 of them, to me, are interchangeable. It doesn't matter who has the ball. You can play them all in the court at the same time. Mm-hmm. So where do you see Zach in the next 3 to 5?
Not in a Bulls uniform.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the league, in his position, at his position.
I think he's going to be one of those guys at the end of the day. Man, he was super good. Just couldn't do it.
That's tough.
I think he's going to be like, dang, man, I wish I would have seen him with a better coach. I wish I would have seen him as a second or third option type guy.
I really wish we could see him under Flip.
Him and Flip Saunders, he would have been so much better.
And then honestly, Sam Mitchell was doing a great job with him. He was doing a great job. He was doing a great job with that Minnesota team. And when Flip died, the way he handled that team, the way he did, I think it was horrible for them bringing in Tom Thibodeau and doing him that dirty. Like, just grow the team. Flip knew what he was doing. Like, we just trusted Flip because we just brought him back. Like just let's see what Flip had this thing going. I think. Hold on. Let me say something about Zach. I think Zach is one of the best scorers and natural scorers. I think he's a phenomenal shooter. I would love to see. I really wanted to see him in a Lakers uniform when he declared. Like, I wanted him as a Laker. I wanted him to get a year or 2 under Kobe because I'm
just thinking about this. It
would have been amazing.
When is his contract up?
He just re-signed. He just signed a new contract. So
Because I'm just thinking about this now.
He has to get traded.
Like him, like what is LeBron missing? Right? They're not really missing anything anymore. Like, but what are they missing?
That's for another day.
A third scorer. And what I just say, Zach LaVine is gonna be one of those people I'm gonna be like, man, if only he could have gone somewhere where he can be the second or third option somewhere.
Minnesota had it. Minnesota had their first, second, and third half, and they got rid of him. But yeah, I don't.
I like that guy. I like him.
I love Zach. Like he's one of my favorite players right now, currently.
I like him.
But I liked him since he was at UCLA. There's something about him, his confidence that he has, and he backs it up. And he's more than just a dunker. He was more than just a dunker in high school, but everybody knows him for his dunks. Let's talk about let's go from Chicago to New York. Let's talk about my boy Mitchell Robinson.
It's your boy, because as an East Coast fan, I hate watching Knicks play. I hate it. So I don't watch a lot of Knicks games. I do know I hear his name a lot.
I think in his position, he could be a top 10 eventually. I think he will surpass Gobert in 3 years. In 2 years, my bad, 2 years.
I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that. I don't like Gobert.
I think he has the skill set on both ends to be a top 5-6 in his position.
Did you see the videos of him ball handling?
Yes, I know he got it. You gotta listen. If Mitchell Robinson goes to school instead of doing whatever he did his 1 year, because he didn't play. If he played somewhere, Mitchell Robinson would have been a lottery pick. The Knicks, never mind. I'm not talking about that.
They lucked up.
They did, but they about to screw it up. So that's on them. Because whatever. I'm not going there. Because it was quoted that the Lakers promised him that they were going to draft him in that first round. So he's another one I'm kind of like, dang, I would have loved to see him in a Laker uniform. But, it's neither here nor there right now, because that would have been nice when you think about the JaVale McGee's that's there. He is actually, never mind. So speaking of bigs, let's go to ATL real quick and let's talk John Collins.
Man, he got the oldest man name ever.
Yo, but his game though, 20 and 10, almost guaranteed.
I like his game. He's another one of those guys that I think right now he's on the right team at the right time. Mm-hmm. He has the right. Atlanta is definitely Tre Young's team, but that team is built perfectly for John Collins to succeed.
Yes, if he could both stay healthy and not get suspended, I think that Atlanta
take steroids.
That's not. We're not talking about
PEDs.
That.
What are you doing, John?
Listen, he probably, it's his trainer's fault. I'm not going to put that on him. But what I will say is he's one of those guys that if he stays healthy, I think Atlanta's success, he's very important to Atlanta's success because he's a mismatch. He's at the 4. He could play the 5, so you can run big, you can run small. I can't wait to see him next to Capella. Like, Atlanta could shock a lot of people, but I will not be shocked depending on what they do. I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do in the draft. Like, they're still in position for a top 5.
Isn't that crazy?
So, yeah, because another player that I would love to see in Atlanta is James Wiseman. Like, I think he would be perfect. You don't need him to score right away. You just need him to grab rebounds, block shots, and dunk and move. And he's very mobile. He will run the court. You get him with a guy that actually likes to pass, he's going to be able to get the ball in the court. So
John Collins, out of all the guys that we've named, John Collins is in the best situation possible right now.
So where do you see him in the next, say, about 3 years for his position?
I would say,
and we're gonna say his position's the 4.
I would say he's gonna be one of the top players in his position for the mere fact that he's gonna be with one of the best top. He's gonna be with one of the top point guards as well. It's gonna be almost that. Yeah. It's gonna be one of those things like Stockton and Malone. Neither of their careers will be the same without each other. So,
if you had to put a number by it, you can give me a range. You don't have to be like, oh, he's gonna do this. Just give me a range.
He's gonna be a top 10 player in his position in the league.
Okay, 7 to 10, or just bottom 10.
He's gonna be mid. He's gonna be middle of the pack
in
his position, which I think is gonna be huge because that 4 position. I mean, you can throw in Anthony Davidson type position.
You can, but you're talking about the next 3 to 5 years.
But I'm trying to say you can throw Anthony Davis considerably into that position.
He is
like,
the 4 now, so yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about people who.
Because you got
superstars.
You got KP. You got a lot of good like
Zion. You have Zion.
Zion's positionless, so we just gonna have to put him in just the player conversation.
I understand that.
On position.
I understand that, but when we look at the court, he's playing the 4, man.
The next guy that we're gonna talk about, and I'm super excited about this dude because Jaylen Brown with the Celtics. I know we talked a little bit about him. You already know how I feel about him, and we'll talk about that after. But where do you see him in his position in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think this one's tricky, honestly. I think Jaylen isn't a selfish player. I mean, he's with the Celtics. You can't be on the Celtics and be selfish. You saw what happened to Kyrie. He got to get gone. I think Jaylen, I think Jaylen might be Manu Ginobili type.
That's tough.
Yeah, I think he's going to be that type of player. Meaning, on any team, he's going to be the man. He's going to be the second option easily. But instead, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I love my coach. I like the players I play with. I'm willing to scale it back. But guess what? Don't get it twisted. Ain't nothing soft over here. I'm going to still get mine. I'm going to still give you these buckets.
I don't think he scales it back. Like, I think he's perfect in the Celtics. I think he's perfect in the system. He's with the perfect coach. He has... Yes, Walker's there. But hands down, it's Jaylen. It's Jaylen and Jason's team. Like,
it's a JJ show.
Those 2 players, I feel like if they continue to build around them, the Celtics are going to be super scary. I look forward to the Celtic Atlanta battles that's going to be happening over the next 3 to 5 years in the playoffs.
Celtics gotta get it big.
I will say this.
Celtics gotta get it big to run with Collins.
Harry Giles is going to be a free agent this summer. I would love to see him in Boston with his best friend, Jason Tatum, if you want to keep him. Boston probably want to take notes. With that, I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say Jaylen Brown is, right now, top 5 shooting guard in the league. Player.
Let me hold on. Let me think about this. As of right now, this season, this position, let me think about this. So who we have as number 1 based off this past season?
You got James Harden, of course.
You got James Harden, number 1. Number 2.
It's tough.
That 2 through 5 now. Okay, that's and that's where the holdup is. The 2 through 5. I mean, on any given night, you have 2A, 2B, 2-3, 2C.
Booker's in that conversation.
Booker has to be in there if his team's winning. Sorry.
Okay. All right, so
let's just go through this.
So we got to put Clay. I'm going to put Clay because I'm talking all around. It don't matter. I'm saying when he comes back, he's still going to be one of the best.
But we said from this past season.
Okay.
He's injured, so he's not even in this conversation. You got to put Donovan Mitchell in there.
I think Jalen's better than him, so.
I think you're correct. I think you're right as well, but you got to put Donovan Mitchell. He's also
Jimmy Butler.
Easy.
I put Jimmy Butler over Donovan. I might not put Donovan top 5, to be honest.
You know who I'm putting on in front of him? I'm going James Harden, Bradley Beal, Jaylen Brown.
I'll take that. Him right next to Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler number 4. Who you got number 5?
Donovan.
No, I'm putting Booker over Donovan.
I go with wins, man. I'm going with wins. You gotta be a playoff team, man. Like I'm tired of this. Just like the same conversation.
All right, and that's the case. If that's the case, I'm gonna put Paul George at the 2. He is when he's next to Kawhi.
Kawhi's the 2.
No, he's not.
The players play the same position, man. They play the same position on the court.
I know.
They the same player, man. They got 2 of the same player. They got robot number 1, robot number 2.
It's a flip coin. It's a flip coin.
But I'm not mad at it.
It's a flip coin because, like I said, as much as I like Donovan Mitchell, I won't put him over Booker. I don't care if his team's winning or not.
I respect that.
Utah's just a better situation. Like, Donovan Mitchell lucked up in the situation that he's in.
It's going to look different next season. Go Bear up out of there.
Even still, but it don't matter. Like, I'm not looking at the Gobert factor as much because Gobert's not offense. Like, Gobert sets the tone defensively, but they miss more Derek Favors than they miss. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk defense, when we talk the defensive presence. So I would love to see Utah to make that trade with the Knicks and convince the Knicks to get off Mitchell Robinson. I'm not a Knicks fan. Just for the record, I am a Lakers fan, but I am not a fanboy. I've been a Lakers fan forever.
Full disclosure, I'm ready to hear the Vooch to Utah for Gobert trade scenarios. I'm ready for that.
You know what? That's at another time. We'll have that conversation. Matter of fact, speaking of time, I want to thank every single person that's out there that took the time to watch and be around or watch us as we pull the curtain down on the conversations that we do have. We appreciate you. A couple of things to do: just hit the like button if you thumbs up if you want it. If you like what you heard, also leave a comment. Not just leave a comment, also subscribe, put your notifications on, so next time we drop one of these videos, you'll also be able to, basically be in a room with us. Also, tag names on the bottom. Follows Twitter.
Yours is on the other side.
I know, but yours is, I'm pointing to yours. I'm pointing to mine.
Perfect. I'm pointing to yours.
And actually mine's is on this side. Mine's is right here. Yours is over here on the screen. But follow us on Twitter. Reach out to us. Let us know your thought process. If you agree with us, if not, hey, if you have anything to say about Cole, direct it to her, not to me, because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Other than that, till next time, y'all be great. 56 beats, that kind. 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 56
Basics beats.com